Lions-Packers, Logan. The Green Bay Packers come away with a 27-13 victory, and that honestly sells short the demolition that this was. You and I were on opposite sides of this one. I've had the Packers as my division winner in the NFC North. I had them going to the Super Bowl. You had the Lions winning the division and winning this game. How'd the Packers impress you in this one? Did they move you?
Yeah, I mean, I think Green Bay had the most impressive Week 1 debut of any team in the NFL. This was a dominant performance, and if you ask me for my Super Bowl pick solely based on Week 1 results, I would come over to the green side with you, man. I think I'd take Green Bay to the big game. I'm still in on the teams that I like Philadelphia I'm very high on in the NFC. I'm still very high on Washington, but I think Green Bay sits atop the NFC for me. First of all, Jordan Love carved Detroit's defense up. 10 different Green Bay players caught a pass. Pass rush didn't lay a finger on him. He looked real comfortable back there. Green Bay kind of got whatever they wanted, and then offensively, they just came up big time and time again, stonewalling the Lions when they had opportunities in the red zone, coming up with crucial interceptions. This was a dominant victory from Green Bay, and not that I didn't think that they were in my contender tier, but they've moved me more than any team from where I was. I thought Micah Parsons was a huge difference maker for them in this game as well. Comes up with a big sack at the end. It wasn't like super important, but it was still a big play, but he was disruptive all day long. And I'll get to my thoughts on Detroit in a minute, but I was really impressed with Green Bay, and they're a real deal contender, man. If Jordan Love can come out and play like this every week, this team doesn't have a hole, man. I was thoroughly impressed.
I thought the Packers would be the best team in the NFC after they made the Micah Parsons trade, and they look like the best team in the NFC to me. They bullied the Lions today. They absolutely manhandled them. Nobody has done that to Detroit in 2 years. And that was so impressive. And they did it in ways that are so encouraging to me about what this team can be, because Green Bay was already so good last year, right? I talked about it, but if you just look at their efficiency across like every category, passing offense, rushing offense, passing defense, run defense, like really, really stellar all-around football team, top 6 in points per drive, top 6 in points per drive allowed, top 5 in point differential, very good football team. And yet they were lacking in a couple areas. And with how they approached this offseason, they had the clear potential to level up in those couple key areas. And I just thought we saw that come to life in this one. The first one is obviously what the Micah Parsons addition does for this defense, because Jeff Hafley did an unbelievable job with this group last year. They already had an elite defensive scheme. They created confusion. They had lots of effective stunts and stimulated pressures. And so they were able to max out the talent that they had. But you do reach a point where you just need elite talent against the best of the best. And you're not just going to purely outcoach the other great coaches and great teams to a win. Now you have Micah Parsons. Now you have one of the best defensive players on the planet. And even though he wasn't playing the full number of snaps that I would expect him to going forward, like he had 3 pressures, all of them were impactful. One was a sack, one resulted in an interception, the other one resulted in another loss of yardage. And you just see, first of all, I mean, his special ability to like win one-on-one, even against the best of the best, even against a Penei Sewell, but also the versatility, man, where they are moving him all over the line. They're lining him up over center. And this is just the start. This is Micah Parsons with what? A couple of weeks with the team. I just think the potential for him to be absolutely game-breaking for this defense is only going to grow week after week. And yet they already had this dominant defensive performance where they held the Lions to 6 points when this was a meaningful football game. I also thought the entirety of the defensive front for Green Bay was so good today. And I think part of that is just the presence of Micah, right? And the defensive attention that he demands. But Rashawn Gary, now that he's not being asked to be your number 1 pass rusher, he has a sack and a half. He's very good in that role as your number 2 pass rusher. And they defended the run so well. Edgerrin Cooper, Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt, all these guys got in the backfield. They made plays. They shut down the Detroit run game, which has been the identity of arguably the best offense in football over the last couple of years. I think that this Green Bay defense can truly be elite now that they have Micah. And the thing that I looked at offensively, where I saw potential for growth for this team to become a bona fide elite offense, was for the passing attack to be more dynamic. And I thought that we really saw that in the first half of this game, where Jordan Love spread it around. He was very successful with the intermediate passing. He hit some deep shots. He was working the seam, like got everybody involved. And they were just letting it rip in the first half, which I really, really like, because this is a team that tends to be sort of run first, and that's great. That's their identity. But Jordan Love is a very talented thrower of the football. And I thought that they were able to really make the most of that, and they protected well, and the play calling was really good. First half was great. I will say the offense wasn't quite as smooth in the second half. And really the only hurdle left for Love to me is just consistency as a decision maker, where first half, everything was humming. It was perfect execution. Second half, you've got a couple of balls that he puts in harm's way, where he throws what could have been an interception to Anzalone. Literally the next play, he throws a pick to Brian Branch, which was waved off because of a previous defensive holding. But nevertheless, like, that's kind of where it feels like Green Bay is in position to be a favorite in almost every game they play this year, and to be the favorite, in my opinion, against every other team in the NFC, if Jordan Love plays at the level he's capable of. And really, the thing for Jordan Love reaching a ceiling, yes, part of it is allowing him to be aggressive, allowing him to throw the football downfield, but it's also him striking the balance of doing that and not having the boneheaded plays and not having the turnovers, because that's when you start to scratch your head and be like, man, that's frustrating. And that's where he can hold you back. But I think he can be more consistent this year. The potential is there. And I don't see a more complete team in the NFC. When it comes to coaching, talent on both sides of the ball, they are just excellent all around. And I agree. I thought this was the most impressive debut by any team this week. On the flip side, though, Logan, a lot of people coming down hard on the Lions now. They got their asses handed to them. How concerned are you about them, and what do you take away on their side?
Very. I mean, I thought on the flip side of Green Bay, they had the most disappointing week one debut. Biggest thing to me, the pass rush didn't threaten Jordan Love, and Aiden Hutchinson did not look dynamic. Like, it's his first week back off of a major injury. I want to go easy on the guy, let him ease back into form. He needs to be a difference maker, and he needs to be dominant up front for this team to reach what they can do. He is a star pass rusher. And, you know, this defense was great without him even last year, right? And, like, all the injuries they sustained, they ended up figuring it out each and every way until it just became overwhelming and they fell apart in the playoffs. I am concerned about that. Moreover, though, I'm concerned about this stale-ass Detroit offense. I don't know what the hell I was watching in this game. Let's run it up the middle. Let's run it up the middle. Let's check the ball down. Let's check the ball down. Like, I get it. New coordinator, I think you said it pretty well in our season preview, Carson. This team might be experiencing some growing pains as this season goes along, just with the transition of new personnel, new coordinators. This was about as bad as I could expect it, though, man. The Lions, the thing that bothers me the most is the fact that the Lions are so talented and can't figure out how to maximize their talent. Like, you said it, dude. The specialty of this team was running the ball down people's throats, setting up out of play action, and then hitting on timing routes. And you got none of that in this game. The running game was ineffective. The passing game, there was nothing dynamic downfield where I felt like Goff was picking apart the defense or zones or anything. It was, oh shit, nobody's open. All right, I'm going to check it down. Or I'm hitting a short slant route. There was just felt like nothing downfield. And you mentioned it. There's a ton of missed opportunities and mistakes. First half, Detroit's marching. Great drive. Stopped on 3rd and 5 in the red zone. First half, Jared Goff, bad interception. Later in the game, first drive out of the second half, you're down 17-3. You need a touchdown right here. This is the most important drive in the game. Green Bay holds them up in the red zone again, forces them to the field goal, and then you said it, Anzalone drops that pick, and then the next play, it's not just an interception by Brian Branch, it's a pick six, and 2 penalties bring back. Like, you got the game swinging play, and then you shot yourself in the foot. So, to me, it's not a question about talent with Detroit. I know how talented Detroit is. They've got a lot of it. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Jared Goff, Sewell, Taylor Decker. Like, both sides of the football, Brian Branch, Aiden Hutchinson, they're loaded. But I wonder if we are going to see them take a step back with some of their personnel losses on the offensive line, and the coordinators are what more I'm worried about, and more specifically the offensive coordinator. That was a weak-ass game plan, and you've got a ton of talent. Ben Johnson showcased it. I'm going to give them some grace. Like I said, first week, I'm expecting the Lions to look better, but they were the most disappointing team in week 1 to me.
Logan, I told you I thought the Packers had the coaching advantage in this matchup. Now you looked at me with googly eyes. You looked at me like I was crazy.
I thought Dan Campbell's aura was going to overwhelm everything, man.
I mean, respect to aura and culture and biting kneecaps, but when you got a great offensive mind, and we know that in LaFleur, and you got a great defensive mind, and we know that with Jeff Hafley, I'll take that over Mr. Culture, and we'll see what we got with first-time coordinators and John Morton and Kelvin Shepard, neither of whom I thought were impressive today. I just think the Lions have some stuff to figure out. I have seen some people overreacting to this, in my opinion. I think some of it is probably cope because, of course, sports discourse is just so fun, man. And somebody's always got to diminish someone else to support some alternate agenda they have. And NFC North fans just very funny, man. A lot of long storied rivalries there, a lot of beef. Nobody wants to give anybody else credit. I saw some people just being like, no, this is more about how much Detroit sucks. And I'm like, even if you think that Detroit has regressed and you're worried about the coordinators and you're worried about them losing some really high-level talents on the interior offensive line, the team that just won 15 games in spite of the fact that they had like the most injured defense in football, they suck now. It's not impressive to be beating them by 3 touchdowns before you get to garbage time. Like, I don't know, man. I'm pretty impressed by that. And I did think this game said a lot more about Green Bay and what a stellar major Super Bowl threat they are. But for Detroit, this was one of my chief concerns throughout this offseason. Like, when you lose Ragnow and Zeitler, if you go from arguably the best offensive line in football to the 12th or the 13th best, like, that's a meaningful difference.
They don't have a superpower anymore.
Exactly. That's been their superpower. That trench dominance in the run game is at the heart of everything this offense wants to do. First and foremost, they want to be able to spam outside zone and just run it down your throat over and over again and pick up 5+ yards per carry and just will you into submission, break you down physically, break you down mentally. That's their first great punch. Then off of that is when they can hit you with some of the shot plays and when they really get the play action game going, right? It's all interrelated with the run game, which is all interrelated with we can just straight up bully you up front. I saw a team that got bullied up front today, and that's different for Detroit. Even in their losses, like, that has very rarely happened for them on both sides of the ball. They just got pushed around in the trenches. You mentioned, like, not a lot of pressure on Love, 0 sacks. He's great at dealing with pressure in terms of not taking sacks, but nevertheless, just like we're not able to really impact him there. And then brilliant coaching has absolutely been another huge strength of this team. And they lost 2 great coordinators. Now, John Morton is a guy who a couple years ago was in the Detroit system, but Ben Johnson is a really, really great offensive mind. And even if part of that is just committing to the run over and over again, I don't know if anybody is better at parlaying that into creative, big time plays than Ben Johnson. So it's not surprising to me that Detroit came out of the gate slow. This is why I was a little lower on their regular season. I think they'll look better as the year goes along, but they're having to deal with a lot of change at once, and they're getting dealt immediately difficult games on the schedule. Going to Green Bay. In 2 weeks, they go to Baltimore. A few weeks after that, they go to Kansas City. They host Tampa Bay. Like, they just got one of the toughest schedules in football, so they're not really going to be able to put the training wheels on at any point this year. But I do think they're going to find their identity again. I don't think they're going to be the team that they were last year or maybe 2 years ago, although they do have more defensive talent than they had 2 years ago, but now they've lost some offensive talent and some offensive brains. So that's the struggle, man. Windows really can be short in football and things change fast, but that's not to say that Detroit's window is closed. I just think a couple teams have surpassed them, and I think Green Bay is at the top of that list. I'm extremely high on the Packers and extremely impressed by them today.
Yeah, I'm going to wait to pass judgment on Detroit, like in their long-term outlook for the rest of this season. Give me 4 weeks, and I feel like we'll know what we got in Detroit. If they're going to be a real contender or if they're a team that's going to get bounced in the first round. I still expect this team to make the playoffs. They're too talented to me to miss out. I would be surprised, but
I agree.
I don't know if they're going to be a real deal Super Bowl contender again this year, man.
But this is where I'm saying, like, some people are overreacting. If Detroit missed the playoffs, I mean, the schedule is really tough, but I just think there's still too much that they do really well here. Like, Jared Goff can still operate this offense at like a top 12 level. They still have one of the absolute best groups of pass catchers. They still have probably the best running back room in football. They couldn't get a lot going today, but like, yes, Jameer and Montgomery, they benefit from this great offensive line, but Jameer is one of the premier playmakers out in space. He's ridiculous. His explosiveness, his elusiveness. David Montgomery is one of the best power backs in football. Like, even if they take a step back because they lose Ben Johnson and they lose offensive line talent and continuity, there's still too much here for them to not be a good offense. And then defensively at full strength, like they've got so much talent up front. They've got the great safety tandem. I think Detroit is going to be fine. I think they're going to be really good, but I do think they've taken a bit of a step back, and that's not surprising. But if I had to guess, this is probably the worst that it looks against a great team trying to get everything going together in week 1 on the road. It's tough circumstances.